Metalpoint is the art of drawing with a metal stylus on a surface coated with a special, slightly abrasive ground. Almost any metal can be used, but silver is by far the most common choice.
Most grounds in Northern and Italian Renaissance metalpoint drawings contain bone ash, a gritty powder made from roasted and crushed animal bones. Italian artists frequently used colored grounds, minerals from the earth such as red clay, terre verte or green earth, and yellow ochre. Artists also tinted grounds with organic colorants such as indigo, the dye used in blue jeans. Here, bone ash and powdered indigo are mixed together on a slightly roughened slab of glass. Before the availability of commercially produced materials, artists, or more likely apprentices in their workshops, prepared paints and grounds by hand. Adding water facilitates the even blending of the two pigments. The indigo and bone ash are now mixed with the Mueller, a hard glass tool with a flat roughened bottom. Looking carefully, you can see some of the large particles of the white bone ash. The pigments are gathered and put into a container to combine later with a binding agent, the substance that holds together the particles and adheres them to the paper. Dried flakes of animal glue are mixed with water. The mixture will be heated and then added to the pigments and stirred. More glue or pigment can be added to improve the consistency of the ground and its ability to be brushed out onto paper. While the mixture is warm, it is applied evenly on paper using a wide brush. Artists today coat papers by hand using commercially available paints or purchase papers already manufactured with an abrasive coating. Leonardo and his circle often drew on grounds colored with indigo. This pink ground contains red dyes made from plants or insects. The mineral-based pigment lead tin yellow provides the color in this ground. Most often, artists drew on white grounds. Artists use the prepared paper to make preliminary studies for paintings, to make rapid sketches, or to create finished works of art.
In the past, the artist drew with a metal stylus. Now you can just slip a piece of metal wire into a mechanical pencil casing. All metalpoint lines, including gold, appear gray when they're first made because the metal loses its color when broken down into tiny particles. With many drawing materials, you can make a darker line by pressing harder. Silver point often doesn't respond well to pressure. The line only gets a bit darker, and you run the risk of digging into the ground. So artists model forms by building up lines. Italian artists, like Raphael, often shaded with parallel diagonal lines, placed most closely together where they wanted the deepest shadows. The transitions between light and dark here are amazingly subtle, giving the impression of soft flesh. You can also layer the lines into cross-hatching. This drawing is a gold point. Because gold doesn't tarnish, the lines stay gray rather than turning brown the way silver point does. Artists use lines to show shape and texture, as well as light and dark. Here, Dürer uses short, curved strokes to convey the bristly texture of the dog's fur and to describe the shape of his body. You can draw with almost any metal object. Artists have experimented with a variety of tools to create different effects or create broad areas of tone. This artist works with bars or plates of different kinds of metal. The subtle variations of tone and color make the stripes appear to float above the page. Artists often added white highlights when working on colored ground. Mostly they used white paint for this purpose. This is something you see especially with Italian artists like Botticelli. It gave them a much greater range, moving from darkest hatching to white highlights. You can also scratch or cut into the paper, digging right through the metal point lines to create highlights. This is something you see mostly in 15th century drawings from the Netherlands. The scratching is especially noticeable in the highlights in her hair. You often hear that metal point is indelible. It's more accurate to say that the ability to erase it is limited. Lightly drawn lines can sometimes be carefully removed with moisture, modern erasers, or other means. Only a few faint lines are left of the plumes erased from these hats. But you can see the original lines more clearly under ultraviolet light. Some of the earliest metal point drawings date from the Middle Ages. The techniques used by Leonardo da Vinci, Albrecht Dürer, and Rembrandt were revived in the 19th century. And are still in practice today.
This film was made possible by the HRH Foundation.